Hi, Amy.
Abby.
Today we're discussing the latest episode of 90 Day Fiancé season 11, which was episode 11. Apologies to everybody. We're late this week. It couldn't be helped. We had federal elections here on Monday night, and then yesterday all kinds of stuff happened. So we had to postpone twice.
But we're doing it.
Before we dissect the drama, let's do 1, 2, 3. 1, rate, review, and follow us wherever you listen to the podcast. 2, watch our podcast on YouTube at 90 Day Fiancé. Honestly, 3, our subscriber-only content is free for the month of April. We're discussing the tell-all of the last resort. We just recorded the last episode of that today, so go have a listen. It's quite brief.
Finally. That's done.
If you're so resigned. It's done. It was an arduous task, I have to admit. Okay, let's get on with this happiness, which starts with Stevi and Mahdi. There's more bidet talk to open their scene, of course. We can't get away with not talking about a bidet in every season of 90 Day Fiancé. It's a fixture. Haha.
I mean, it should be. I wish I had one, but I mean, I've already expressed my views on that previously, so I won't go into that again.
No more toilet talk. Okay, they have 50 days left, and they are currently talking about moving the wedding day up to save money. So that option is still open to them. We thought it was gone.
Well, yeah, because I think he said something about it having to happen within like 2 weeks or something, and I feel like we're beyond that.
Yeah, it definitely feels like the timeline got mashed somehow because now they have the option once again to save $2,000 if they get married sooner. So they're going to go ahead with it. They want Daddy Redneck, of course, to walk Stevi down the aisle while he's still relatively healthy. So all good, but they're going to forge ahead. They go back to Hattiesburg after having had this wonderful proposal on the beach, second proposal, and they stand around very awkwardly in Daddy Redneck's garage, waiting to tell him that they've had the second proposal and Stevi is sporting a brand new engagement ring.
Great.
Stevi, wonderful commentary. So helpful. Stevi asserts that she's no longer in doubt about her marriage to Mahdi. So yay. Finally, we get to the point where she's happy and he's happy. Daddy, of course, wishes them good luck, agrees to walk Stevi down the aisle. How could he not? And the resolution to all of this is we have 2 weeks until the wedding is taking place. So hurry up, people. You got a wedding to plan.
Let's do this. It's not like it's a tiny task.
No. So in the next scene, we now have 13 days left until the wedding.
Wow,
because time is sped up. They're going to check out this wedding venue and to meet up with Stevi's friend Claire. But on the way there, we learn that Mahdi's not feeling well. He ate pork for the very first time in his life, and it's upsetting his stomach. So I guess that means he's not a very strict Muslim, although he says his family, his parents are.
Well, I think it's nice that he's trying new things and he's expanding his horizons beyond his religious beliefs and upbringing. Feel bad for his poor tummy, though. That must be uncomfortable. But I have a question before we get into the venue.
Mm-hmm.
Has he even met her kid or kids yet?
We don't know because they are never discussed. Yeah, it's a big question mark. Does he get along with the kids? Does he like kids? Does he want to have more kids with Stevi? Who knows?
I think, again, it might provide some backstory to her if we knew something about the kids. I mean, I can appreciate that she doesn't want them being filmed, but it would also be nice if we knew what kind of relationship he has with the kids, if there even is one, because you know how heavily we judge that area of relationships.
We do.
But I wanted to say that when they walk in and they're being given the tour of the venue, it looked spectacular.
Mm-hmm.
It was just so beautiful. I think they chose a fantastic venue.
It is. It's very romantic. I love the feel of it, the lighting, the courtyard. It seems really, really nice. A little bit funky. It'd be nice to have like a jazz band playing.
Yeah. It has personality and elegance.
Mm-hmm. And Claire, Stevi's friend, suggests that perhaps Stevi could decorate this wonderful location with some of her paintings. And one of those paintings, Claire suggests, could be the painting of her, Claire, which is a nude, of course. Now, Mahdi doesn't take this news very well. He is shocked to learn that this painting was done in person. Gasp. If I had pearls on, I would be clutching them right now.
I have pearl earrings. I shall clutch those. Oh,
Oh, murder. I understand where he comes from. This is kind of taboo for him, but you would think that he's starting to get into the groove of American ways. I mean, he's eating the pork. He's obviously living with her, which he's not supposed to do. They're having premarital sex. He's not supposed to do that either. So why is this still a big hang up for him?
And it's his wife's art. It has nothing to do with PDAs or premarital sex or eating pork. It's art. I would appreciate it if he had said, okay, I don't like that idea. I want the attention to be on us as a couple and not be focused on your art. I mean, I can confidently say that I've never gone to a wedding where there were nude paintings. So that would be interesting, I think, from an attendee point of view. But I also think it would be distracting from the beautiful nature and just how gorgeous the facilities are. And anyway, again, picking and choosing which parts of his culture to follow and hang his hat on.
Are we suspicious of this topic having been brought up as a production plant in order to reignite this fight between Stevi and Mahdi, of him being a little suspicious that maybe she's hiding something from him? Is it a plant?
I'm not sure if it's a plant, but I think it's going somewhere. They keep coming back to it.
Yeah.
So,
and she refuses to answer every time.
Her response is more telling than her lack of response is more telling than an actual response would have been. Had she just said no from the very beginning, that would have been it. But because she was so non-committal, now it continues on.
Yeah, she waffles. Anytime he asks her point blank, is there anything you want me to know about this? Are you bisexual? Are you attracted to women? She just is like, why do I even have to answer that? Or I don't even want to answer that. She will not give a yes or a no. And so he's left wondering, is this going to come up again? Is this something that she's just not willing to discuss with me at this point? And so some future date, it may come out and there will be a big issue in our marriage because I'm not a woman. I can't provide that for her.
And I think it's a fair concern for him based on his own values. But yeah, I think that this is going to come up again and continue to be an issue. And I wouldn't be surprised if she finally reveals that either she is bi, pan, whatever, is interested in the opposite sex, or if, she did the good old college try and has experienced it. Either way, just answer the damn question.
He's going to be your husband. Don't you want to be honest with him? Maybe not. Maybe not.
No.
Shall we read on? Let's go to Shawn and Alliya. They have 36 days left. Where did the time go for these guys?
They were playing with the puppy.
Oh, they're going to their engagement party. Shawn calls it opulent and fancy. Oh my.
I call it a meet and greet.
Okay. It's in Sonoma in Wine County, country. I don't know what they call it exactly. Never been there, but it looks beautiful.
Mm-hmm. Another beautiful venue.
Alliya will finally meet Shawn's family, barely any of whom know that Shawn is even in a relationship, let alone getting married.
To a woman.
Yes, to a woman. Alliya has this sense that Shawn isn't taking things seriously as they're driving up to this beautiful location. She has issues with Shawn making fun of her. She doesn't appreciate that, and he just fobs it off as, oh, I'm just joking around. I hate this. It's so dismissive. So many people do this.
I wonder if he needs to introduce her to an older style of humor.
Yeah, maybe.
Because I didn't watch The Golden Girls until maybe 5 years ago, and I think had I watched it any earlier, I wouldn't have understood or appreciated the jokes and appreciated Betty White for everything that she has been from the very beginning, although Golden Girls is not her beginning, but I really valued what it had to offer. So maybe he should pull out some old movies and, introduce her to that style of humor, because it falls flat and he doesn't seem to want to support that in any way. He doesn't explain his jokes or why he thinks it's funny. But at the same time, I agree that he's not taking things seriously, because it was only like an episode or two ago where he was like, well, yeah, if I could, I would just not get married again. But yeah, they're still moving forward with it. So
yeah, I'm a little skeptical of whether or not teaching her his brand of humor is going to help him to be more funny in her eyes, given that she feels that these little jokes are kind of attacks, mean in their intent, but somewhat mean in their delivery.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah,
You know what I
I can
mean?
see that perspective as well. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, they go to see Sean's mom. Delightful to see her again.
Love her.
Also delightful to see how close that Sean's mom, and Alliya are. I love that.
I think that's so beautiful. I think that she is going to be a phenomenal maternal figure for Alliya, and that's nice for her to have that support and that kind of relationship with someone in the States now that she's there.
I think so too. I think that Sean's mom is going to be Aliyah's foundation for support. And then when Alliya finally gets friends and has built up a social circle a little bit more, then she may rely on those people because mom does live far away from them. So it's not like she can go out and have lunch with her every other day or anything.
And a shot of tequila to start it off.
Of course. While Shawn is talking to his mom alone, he betrays a little bit of why he hasn't told anybody about Alliya. So what happened was that he was talking to some people. I don't know if they were his friends exactly. They might have just been acquaintances. And he got some negative feedback when they were talking about trans people. So I don't think he was specifically saying, oh, I have a girlfriend and she's trans. It just sort of came up in the conversation. He gets that vibe that, oh, this person is not cool with that. And so he's taken a step back from revealing more of his story to the people that he knows because of that. I understand that. I can believe it to a certain extent, but why you would hide it from your children and your closest friends? I don't get that.
And also, why are you friends with people who so clearly don't value human beings for what they are? And especially being a gay man himself, where does this transphobia come from? Obviously, we weren't there for the conversation, so we didn't get to hear what happened.
Yeah.
But it also, he's 60 something, right? Where's his backbone? Why can't he just be confident in his choice and in his relationship and the beauty that it could be? And instead he cowers due to judgment.
Well, he does say that he's not 100% happy at this point. So maybe that's part of it. It's the lack of confidence in the relationship, much as we've seen with Stevi and Mahdi. But
Yeah,
Shawn
that's fair.
doesn't talk at all about what these questions are. He says, I have a whole bunch of questions that I need to get answered within the next 30 days because that's when their wedding's going to happen. And we don't know what the questions are. Is it that he's just still thinking about the operations and whether he's going to be able to be with a woman the way that he was before? We don't know. We don't get much detail.
No, but it's classic 90 day. You know, we have a lot of issues to work through before our wedding. Deals with no issues.
Yeah. Or don't even talk about what those issues are so that we're left as an audience wondering, well, was that even real? Were there any issues? Did you have questions? Or were you just making that up?
Or it arises after the wedding, after they've already gotten married. And then it's like, oh, shit. Really? This comes up now? Oh, the kids.
The kids.
You know, with Joan and Shawn and the kids. And oh, we're already married. Can you just do things in a manner that I would prefer, which is discuss everything before the wedding and don't commit yourselves or don't commit to each other without having all of, well, the majority of the answers, or at least the big ones answered and figured. Like,
no, we can't always be logical. Come on, Amy. This is not realistic. This is an emotional show.
Yeah, okay.
Let's talk a little bit about the meeting of all of the friends in the family. Shawn's kids are introduced to Alliya. They are definitely older than her. Yes?
I believe so.
And everybody seems a little shocked, a little surprised, taken aback. Then they're all sitting down to eat a meal and the questions start. Shawn is asked point blank, why did you keep this a secret for so long? Why didn't you reveal any of this earlier?
Wait, I do believe that this kind gentleman said, why did you keep this beautiful creature a secret? I thought that was so cute.
That's a lovely way to put it.
Mm-hmm.
But Shawn's response is so flimsy. I didn't really get a sense of any real meaning behind it. He says he didn't want to tell people over a text message about his relationship with Alliya. Well, who said you have to text anybody? You could video chat, you could call them, you could see them in person. These are supposedly your friends and your children. Do you only ever communicate with them over text? And you haven't seen them in 3 years?
And then he says that he's awful at texting. And then at least one person piped up and said, no, you're actually really good at texting. So, and I mean, like, this isn't like a cancer diagnosis. You're not texting your friends and family to give them that kind of news. It's much more casual and less emotional and life-changing. I've met someone. Okay, great. How difficult is that?
It's apparently very difficult. Shawn can't even text it to his kids. I don't get it. I call
I don't
BS.
get him. I don't get him.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't
Yeah.
make any sense because his
Yeah.
mom has said before that his kids are dramatic and she can understand why he didn't tell them that because of their behavior and just the theatrics, which I don't think we really saw too much of in this episode, but maybe there will
Not
be
at
more
all.
to
Maybe.
come.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't understand that guy.
Okay, fair enough. I don't think I do either.
Yeah.
Shall we read on?
I'd like to skip this one, but okay.
Yeah, well, let's make it just brief then.
Okay, I can do that.
Yes. So we're talking about Matt, Amani, and Ani, but it's just the two of them, the two married people in this scene. This is the aftermath of Matt having learned that Ani loves Amani more than him. And he's immediately blowing it up and misrepresenting the situation by saying, Ani doesn't care for me. Well, no, that's not what was said to you. What was said was that she cares more for Amani. It's not that she doesn't like you at all. She just likes you less. Anyway, Matt decides to call his buddy, who is or was in a poly relationship, and this friend calls it, saying, Matt, you're a third wheel. Well, I mean, you're in a throuple. Somebody has to be, don't they?
I think if it's built like a tricycle, if you all lean on each other and everything is equal, then it can work. However, clearly, that's not a thing in this faux relationship, the tri-relationship. I agree. I think that he told him some very hard truths.
And Matt eventually comes to the conclusion by himself, which is that this may not be healthy. No shit, Sherlock.
Oh.
Especially for the children involved in all of these relationships.
Someone's finally thinking of the children.
Well, he didn't, but I did. He's only thinking of himself.
Yeah. as he does.
This may not be healthy. I mean, come on. This really?
And then his friend trying to encourage him to speak with his wife, and he said that he doesn't trust her. What? You don't trust your wife, yet you've opened your relationship to include a third. You're discussing committing immigration fraud, and yet you don't trust her. Oh. And also, Aaron was on speaker, and that bothered me. But I feel like they have to be when they're filming.
I think so.
That makes sense. But I have a prediction.
Ooh. Get out your crystal ball. Madam Amy, what is it?
Aaron's going to be on the tell-all.
Okay. Yes, that is true. That I can definitely see that.
What do you call them? UGs? Unwanted guests?
Yeah. Unnecessary guests.
Yes.
Okay, Matt's coming to the tell-all. Very good. Well,
yeah.
Not Matt. Matt's friend.
Aaron. Yeah.
Thank you. Matt goes to talk to Amani now that she's awake because she's been asleep for a million years, and he needs reassurance from her so that he can feel comfortable again, and then he also needs her help to get closer with Ani. Whatever. Fake.
Great.
Reading on.
Oh, yes, thank you.
Yay, relief. Okay, but this one is also quite short. Shekinah and Sarper. We're still at the restaurant. Sarper acknowledges to the family that they didn't get a good first impression of him. He has a lot of work to do. Okay, that's great. He acknowledges, I have to look for ways to improve myself. I'm always trying to improve. Fantastic. We love to hear that. Who doesn't love a human being who's self-aware and always trying to grow?
But is he?
That's a question. Yes. We don't know.
Question.
I don't have an answer. The sisters finally seem to be letting their guard down a little bit. They seem to slowly be opening up a tiny bit to the idea of giving him the opportunity to change their minds and perhaps down the road accept him into the family. Maybe.
Great.
It's so inconclusive. It's just... Okay, but off camera, Mariah, the one who met Sarper in Turkey and brought the news back home that he was a jerk, speaks out of the other side of her mouth and does a complete about face on Sarper. And she's obviously still very miffed at him for how he treated her and how he treated Shekinah. So I think it's going to take her the longest out of everybody to get over this and to finally come to like Sarper, if that happens.
Mm-hmm. And honestly, I think it's fair because we all know that Sarper wasn't on his best behavior. He didn't have the integrity and self-knowledge.
Self-awareness.
Thank you. I am getting old. Anyway, so he didn't have any of that beforehand.
Yeah.
And he, again, has grown strides. So I really hope that she's being truthful and giving him the opportunity to prove himself and to not be so closed off. Because obviously when we saw them, what was it, last week? It was like, no, everyone hates Sarper, whatever. But, there's a bit of hope, I guess.
Yeah, I think there's a little bit of hope. I don't know if the other two sisters are going to be more open than Mariah is, but she definitely seems closed off. And as we've said in the last couple of episodes, Shekinah doesn't really appear to be encouraging them to let their walls down. She doesn't back Sarper up. She's not really being loud and proud of her fiancé. She just lets him take the lead. And I think that's a mistake because she's the one who knows these people way better than he does. And she knows how to appeal to them. And she could be saying some great things about Sarper, but she chooses not to.
And she also knows that Sarper tends to put his foot in his mouth when he's under an immense amount of pressure.
Agreed. Yeah, we know he has all kinds of little tics that he has in order to deal with a stressful situation.
Completely understandable, completely valid, and she doesn't support him in that capacity.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost like she just throws him to the wolves and sits back and, kind of just like pokes a stick in the middle of the fight. And it's like, all right, I'm here, right? So, they take a step back and they look at her and then just go back to tearing him apart.
I love that image. When they go back to LA, it's now 1 week later. They're fighting and we hear them because Shekinah has recorded the audio only of this big crazy fight that they had. And we don't really get much substance out of what the fight was about or why, what happened. Did Sarper move out? It's all unclear. It's just we see Sarper outside and we see Shekinah inside. She's packing up her stuff from her aesthetic room so that they can have the full use of the house. She's going to move that into an office. And Sarper is telling us that he was one click away from booking a plane ticket back to Turkey, but decided against it at the last moment. So,
I believe my reaction at that time was to clap and yell, "Why didn't you?"
Yeah. It was a little sad when he was talking to his sister and telling her that he was on the verge of having gone home and that if he did go home, that would be the end of Shekinah and he would go back to his manly ways. I don't know what you want to call it, to the extreme where his body count would now be 3,500, not 2,500. That didn't sound good at all.
No, I think the fight really impacted his self-worth. Yeah. And that's why he's like, if I have to go back to my life, I'm going to do it sevenfold and make it worthwhile. Well, in reality, if he did do that, it doesn't matter. It's not going to fix that hole in your heart or whatever's missing, you know? I think he was just being super dramatic with his response and speaking emotionally rather than rationally, which is completely understandable given the audio.
Yeah.
I just really wish that I could have given him either a hug from myself or
a
house cow.
Oh,
yeah.
That's true. Where's the house cow when you need it? Oh, Anything else on those lovely two people? No, reading on then. Gregory and Joan have 65 days. That's more like it. That feels on pace. Yeah. All right. So this week, Joan took a shower and Mom noticed. Of course she did.
God. She showers.
Yes, she showers a lot. How dare she? How dare she be so clean?
Something that bugs me about this is I I would wager my entire paycheck on the fact that she's not taking hot showers. She's not running up that water bill with the hot water, you know?
Mm-hmm. You think it's a cool shower to stay nice and fresh in a hot weather?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Could be.
It's just ridiculous.
All right. Yeah. All right. I agree. Lucille wants to talk to Greg and Joan about their wedding. Of course she does. Yes. She wants to suggest that they do their wedding at a venue rather than at the house, which is what they had originally planned to do. And lo and behold, Mom has sourced a venue. Can you believe it? Which happens to offer everything. Cake, DJ, drinks, decor, food, you name it. They've got it. They won't have to lift a finger.
Look at Mom doing all the heavy lifting again.
Again, I know.
And
she can't help herself.
Even when they were talking about it, first of all, he kept saying, well, I'm just saying. First of all, what does that even mean? It was irritating. And then he was claiming that, like, when they were talking about doing the wedding at his mom's place, well, he'll make the cake.
With his sweaty forehead sticking into it.
My next comment was, you can't make a loaf of bread without slapping yourself in the face with it. So how can we trust that you're going to be able to make a tiered cake? I assume it's going to be tiered and not get your sweat in it.
What a thought.
Gross.
Yeah. Well, Greg has a budget. I'm glad he has a budget. That's really good. It's $5,000. It's a good amount. But he also has to pay for the dowry with that $5,000. And you know who doesn't approve of Gregory having to pay a dowry?
Is my...
Miss Lucille. No, my baby boy should not have to pay that. He's already looking after her. That's just a bunch of nonsense from another culture.
Well, understanding the culture in Uganda, I'm surprised that he acknowledged and agreed to pay it.
Why don't you think he wouldn't pay it?
Well, I think he would just try to skirt his way around it. Can't afford it. But I think he's, finally come to the realization that it's a mandatory requirement for her culture for them to be able to get married.
Mm-hmm. I mean, look at Kobe and Emily. She's not even from the Cameroonian culture, and she's the woman who's usually the person that you need to pay the dowry for. And Kobe still paid a dowry. He didn't have to. She's American. So when it's the other way around, I would have thought, oh, absolutely mandatory. It's her culture. Her family gets the dowry. Duh, you're going to pay the dowry.
Yeah, I had an idea. So, his budget is $5,000. And out of that budget, he has to pay for the dowry, as you just said. Why doesn't he just get a job? Wouldn't that solve that problem completely?
Well, it would, but that wouldn't be any fun now, would it?
Well,
because then he'd have to go work every day and have responsibilities.
And he wouldn't get to spend so much time with Joan and his mom.
That's right.
At the same time.
Oh, great. So the happy couple go with Mom to check out this lovely venue that Lucille has chosen for their wedding. And on the way there, it's hilarious how Joan and Lucille are both listing the advantages of their chosen location. And it's quite a tense atmosphere as they're each listing off, well, mine does this, mine does that. Mine has good weather all the time. Well, mine's more comfortable. It's home. It's so silly.
Well, just the power struggle was so uncomfortable. I would probably be the first one to, stop, drop, and roll out the door.
I know. Let's take the first stop sign and it's like, that's me. I'm getting out. Bye-bye.
Oh, it's my stop. It says stop. Just so awkward.
And as usual, Greg not taking any of it seriously or taking anybody's side. He says, oh, I just want to get wasted. I don't care where it is. I just want to get wasted.
I thought that was so funny. And in my notes, I said, oh my God, he's a bro. He just wants to get wasted. And then he said it. I was like, I am in tune with this scene right now.
Mm-hmm. So they're at this location. They're looking around. It's quite elegant. It's got all the usual things that you would expect to see at a typical wedding venue. The cost is $9,000.
Well, that's out of the budget now, isn't it?
A little bit. But Lucille has had a plan all along. And her plan is that she and Greg's dad are going to pay $8,000. Greg only has to pay $1,000. And probably if it goes over, which I imagine it will, because they're giving you the baseline price, right? So you're going to want to add stuff to it. The parents are going to take care of it. The couple only needs to contribute $1,000, which is very generous and loving. And I think that's utterly sweet of the parents to do that for them.
Yes, I agree. I was actually surprised to hear that his dad was still alive because I feel like this is the first time that he's been mentioned. And I thought, he was able to stay with mom and she didn't have to work because of the inheritance, but that's not a thing.
No, we don't know where dad is. I suspect divorced from mom. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I think so. We don't really know.
We would get to meet him at the wedding, perhaps. If that is all.
I have one more thing. His mom was talking about the venue and she said it's soup to nuts.
Yes.
What does that even mean?
Okay, so soup is the first course, and then you have all the courses in between, like your entree, your main course, your dessert, maybe even your cheese. And then I don't know why there's nuts at the end, but there's nuts at the end.
Okay, well, it makes sense if you have like the cheese and the nuts.
Yes.
Almost like a cheese board. Okay, that makes more sense.
Maybe, but that's my understanding of that expression. I may be wrong.
I figured that's what she was getting at, given the fact that, she was selling it as, they do absolutely everything. But then she said soup to nuts. And I was like, where do you get nuts from soup?
Yeah, it's a bit odd. And are they like edible nuts or are they like nuts from nuts and bolts, hardware nuts?
Good question.
Yeah.
Well, I would assume that they would be edible because there's soup involved. I don't know. The amount of questions that I have about this phrase are just vast.
You can Google it later.
Yeah, but I just wanted to say my last comment is Greg is an absolute burden on everyone.
Even Joan?
Job. Yeah, get a job.
Yeah. We would like to see the job thing happening soon. I think they might have, did they preview that he's getting a job? I don't know. It's coming. I feel like it's coming.
Well, I sure hope so, because otherwise she's going to go back to Uganda and we won't see her again. And I would prefer to keep her on my screen. Look at that. A light of positivity. Isn't that lovely?
We love Joan.
Greg, get your shit together. Keep her around. She's too good for you. But he did make a comment that he says that he thinks that it's best that he makes it work for her. Lovely.
Aww.
That's right.
That's a lovely sentiment.
He should do it for himself as well. Because keeping her around is going to be beneficial for him.
I really do feel like these two love each other. I think they're going to make it. I don't think there's any question of them not going through with the wedding. But I really, really do want him to get a job, and one that sticks for a long, long time.
I wouldn't be surprised if he got a job and he just really excelled at it. But on the flip side, I can also see him getting a job and quitting it just because he didn't like it.
Yes.
But I am of the same mindset of you that I really do hope that they survive, because out of all the couples, I feel like they're, I want to say like the headliners, like the ones that we have the most hope for. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So let's stick with that feeling.
Okay. We did not get to see Mark and Mina this week, nor did we visit Jessica and Juan. But next week, Greg is taking Joan to New York City. Fantastic.
It's going to be so overwhelmed. I hope she enjoys it and doesn't
get
too overwhelmed. Yeah.
The throuple downgrades to a couple for date night. Okay. Juan wishes he could go back on the cruise ship. This is the moment that you and I have been waiting for. Alliya talks surgery. Mina cries to a couch filled with knitters. This is quite the scene. I can't wait. And it's all of the Patricias, like the Martini Pat and the whatever Pat. And you know how all of the Pats
Martini Pat, yeah.
They all had nicknames to differentiate between the Pats. And Sarper and Shekinah are going to talk things out. So perhaps this is the resolution we didn't get to have this weekend.
All right. So on two positive notes, I'm looking forward to seeing Martini Pat. And I'm also looking forward to seeing Juan, hopefully, standing up for himself and perhaps leaving. But they'll probably draw that out until the very end of the season. So I'm not hopeful it's going to be resolved. But I look forward to that.
Me too. Before we go, if you're enjoying the 90 Day Fiancé Honestly podcast.
Are you from Michigan? Podcast?
It is a podcast. I'm pretty sure. Please subscribe to or give our show a follow. And if you have an additional moment, please rate us and help other 90 Day fans to find our show. Thanks for listening.
Thanks, everyone.
See you next week.